Hi everybody and welcome to today's Jungle Musing. The topic today is To Thine Own Self Be True, and it is based on the first philosophy in the jungle, Know Thyself. On August 29th, last week, I celebrated yet another year of living clean and sober. Happy dance! Happy dance, jazz hands, happy dance. I don't often share about my sobriety because, after all, the name of the program that I attribute my sobriety to is called Alcoholics Anonymous. However, I did write about it in my new book, published Jane in the Jungle on Amazon. But I do want to talk. I do want to share a little bit about my sobriety and this anniversary to make a difference for whoever's out there that it will make a difference for. Because that's what AA has brought to me in my life, is that everywhere I show up, at any time that I show up, I'm out to make a difference, to be of service. So I really want to share this story with you. So at age 13, I started drinking and drugging. And I was on a mad rampage of self-destruction. I put myself in many compromising situations. I drove my parents absolutely crazy. It was not good. I'm lucky I'm alive. It was a real bad deal. So basically, my formative years from age 13 to age 24, I was a complete stonehead. And by the time I was 24, I was absolutely positively depressed, which, looking back, I know that I was depressed all along, but at 24, I hit a real breaking point and was super suicidal, and I did what is called the Alcoholic's Prayer. The Alcoholic's Prayer is where you throw yourself on the bed quite dramatically, looking up into the sky and saying, "Help! God, help!" So that's what I did. And I got a prompting, and the prompting was to go to AA. And I really didn't think I was an alcoholic. What I thought was I was a 24-year-old young woman who was a party animal, just like all the other 24-year-olds, all my other friends. Just a party girl, a party chick. I was too young to be an alcoholic. But I made a deal with God. I started bargaining, wheeling and dealing with God. And I said, "Listen, God, fine, I'm going to do this. And if it doesn't work, if you don't deliver on this, if it doesn't work, this is how I'm going to commit suicide." And I had my plan laid out. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And so anyway, fast forward, I celebrated 13 years of sobriety. I was 37 years old. And I then struck up another deal with God, and I said, "Look, I'm going to try some wine. I don't think that I might have outgrown it. I'm not convinced that I wouldn't have outgrown that stage of an era of drinking and drugging in my life. So I'm going to try it, and the deal is this: if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to AA." Now, underneath that, I had some real issues I wasn't dealing with. Just as a side note, there were some issues I wasn't dealing with, mainly regarding my divorce and my ex-husband. And but on the outside, it looked like I was just going to try it out. And so I did, and it was a disaster, a complete disaster. I had given my word that when I had my young children with me, I wouldn't drink, much less drug. I would only do that when they were with their dad, and I was having adult time on a weekend that I did not have them. I broke my word right away with that and drove my kids around while I was drunk. It was not good. It was not good at all. And so 1 month, 10 days later, I went back to AA and I started anew. This year, I celebrated 18 years. And so I showed up at the club where they have the AA birthday. It's a monthly party for all the celebrants of that month. And I got called on to come pick up my medallion, and you can also stand at the podium at the speaker and share a little bit as well. And so I said, I would also like to, as usual, every year acknowledge and honor the first 13 years of my sobriety as well. Now in AA, this is not popular to do. In fact, it's quite controversial. It's really not popular. Like, it is frowned upon. The rule of thumb in AA is that you only celebrate the latest, greatest of your sobriety, not the prior years of your sobriety. No, 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 don't do that. And yet, you know, every year I do it. And it's not to be controversial. It's not to be anything other than I'm proud of the collection of chips that I have. I'm, even more importantly, have eternal gratitude for the fact that collectively I have 31 years of living my life clean and sober, raised my kids as a sober mom, except for that 1 month and 10 days. And luckily nothing happened. Thank you, God. And so this year I get up there and I say that, and I pick up my chip. The medallion that they give out is, it's worn out. It's got a Roman numeral 18 on it. And it has the service triangle that says around it, unity, service, and recovery. On the back, all the chips always have the serenity prayer. And then at the very top of the chip, it says, to thine own self be true, but you can barely read it on this particular chip that I picked up. It looks kind of like I got run over a truck, actually. A friend of mine had put a card up there with my chip for me to pick up, as well as my usual normal annual medallion. I sat down and I opened up the card, and it was really cool. Look at it, happy, joyous, and free. And I opened it up, and it says in there, congratulations, may each day be filled with joy and fun. And it's signed. And inside the card, there was this medallion. It's a custom 18-year medallion. And right away, I really loved it because it is my favorite color, pink. And it feels really great too. It's coated in glass. It's beautiful. You can't really see it, but it is beautiful. And you can really read it, like on the back. You can definitely, it's very legible, the serenity prayer. So anyway, I take my medallion home and I put it on my desk by my computer. And the next couple of days, I keep picking it up and going, oh God, I just love this. I really love this. And before you know it, what I'm really noticing is, like, every time I get into it and just like feel the shiny like glass coating, and I read the chip over and over again, I get chill bumps like I'm getting right now. And just like enormous heart-opening just experience, just really get into it. And so I call that going visceral. You know, my heart is opening, I'm having goosebumps, I'm like, huh. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying, to thine own self be true. And I'm remembering all of the times that I've sat through hearing people in conversations, in meetings, talk about what does that really mean. And every time they talk about, seems to me like every time, but I've heard a lot of intellectual, sort of analytical conversations about what does to thine own self be true. And so I'm remembering that, and I think, well, I'm going to Google fine. And so, of course, so I Google fine, and basically what it says is that it's where your higher self or your spiritual being self meets your humanity. It's an alignment with your higher self, basically. And I thought, wow, that is exactly what I do every year. That seems probably to people in AA as quite contrary, although it's not meant to be contrary, when I stand up and pick up my annual chip and also acknowledge and honor the first 13 years of sobriety. To thine own self be true. It is between me and my higher power to acknowledge that I have collectively 31 years of sobriety, that I basically lived my whole life clean and sober, and lived the lifestyle and had the opportunities of a clean and sober person. And I own all of it and am eternally grateful for all of it. The 12-step program is a spiritual program of recovery. And one of the first things that I found out when I started in the 12-step recovery program is the 12 steps are to help you, or not help you, but to actually bring you to a relationship with a higher power, sufficient enough to keep you sober. And by working the 12 steps of the recovery program, you're guaranteed that you get a relationship with the sunlight of the Spirit. And I remember the first time, and that was exciting to me, by the way. From the get-go, I really loved it. I loved that they said higher power of your understanding, because I wasn't raised in a church. There were no Bibles growing up. I called God only because that's what everyone else called this presence. And I really didn't know how at all anything about religion or accessing God's power. But I liked it. I liked the idea. I thought it was great. So I quite enthusiastically went to work on the 12 steps, and I very quickly had my first spiritual experience. Now, I'd had spiritual experiences when I was younger, but I didn't have any way of articulating what it was. But for the 11 years of horrendous disease, alcoholism, drug addiction in my life, there was no connection with God for sure. I was probably chasing it. That's probably why I was doing those drugs and alcohol, but there wasn't any connection. And so I'd had my first spiritual experience, and I was quite excited. And I couldn't wait to share it with someone. So I went to an AA meeting and the next day, and I walked into the AA place, the house, the club, and the first person that I saw that I knew, I went up to him and I said, I had my first spiritual experience. And they said, wow, great. It kind of like, do you want to share? And I said, so I felt God's presence in my heart. I felt the connection to God. I felt God in my heart. And this person looked at me like, that's kind of cute and whatever. And it was kind of a condescending, like, keep coming back kind of look, which didn't bother me at all. I was on to the next person to share my experience with. I did not feel diminished or doubt myself or anything at that point. Then I went to the next person and I said, I had my first spiritual experience. And that person looked at me like, okay, you want to share? And so I shared, I found God in my heart. Like I felt that's where God communicates with me. I felt like that's the connection to God, to my higher power in my heart. And they gave me that same look and kind of said whatever they said, like, okay, sure, that's maybe part of it, kind of like that. And at that point, I really did go into self-doubt. That did impact me. I did doubt myself and diminish my experience, my spiritual experience. However, I was on fire. I was so motivated to heal. And I went on to doing massive amounts of work. I went to like tons of 12-step recovery programs to work on my other issues. I was fired up to pass on my recovery to whoever wanted it. I then went into 3 world movements and took on leadership in all 3 of them. And some of them I was certified, and one of them I was licensed to teach. I got a job with a seminar company and became a speaker and a trainer and traveled all over the United States doing inspirational speaking and training for this company for 9 years. My whole life, my healing business, I became a massage therapist and a healer. My whole life came out of this sobriety, this way of life, and this inspiring just desire to heal and to pass on my healing to others. And so what I'm more convinced of more than ever at 18 years plus 13 years, collectively 31 years of sobriety, with all of that under my belt, all the training, all the development, is this one thing. Human beings definitely stay up in their heads and analyze things way too much. And if you want to find answers that are more connected to your higher self, it's as simple as redirecting your attention from your analytical thinking mind down into your body. I call it going visceral. Least get into your heart. Then notice what it feels like. Notice what is present for you when your attention is from your head down into your heart. And then also notice whenever your attention goes back up into your thinking mind, and gently redirect it again back to your heart area. This is a moment-to-moment life that we live, and to thine own self be true, to connect with your higher power. It's in one moment, and then in another moment, and then in another moment are the opportunities to connect with your higher self. And if you are interested in getting answers that are from a higher level of intelligence, then go at least into your head. And then if you want to go even further, use your breath and open up the palms of your hands to the universe, patiently using your breath, directing your attention down into the palms of your hands, and simply turn on receiving mode. Wait and notice what it feels like to be in receiving mode. Whether you're wanting to receive divine inspiration, divine answers, financial abundance, opportunities, whatever your heart's desire. And if this video has made a difference for you, please share it with your friends that you think it would make a difference for as well. Also, I really appreciate it when you like the video and leave a comment, because it lets me know that I'm on track. I'm on the right track with sharing and making a difference for you. And as usual, until next time, from In the Jungle, bye for now.